Welcome to Spooky Moments, where we delve into the realm of the unknown and explore the darkest corners of the human experience. Prepare yourselves for a spine-chilling journey as we bring you two bone-chilling horror stories that will leave you on the edge of your seat. 4 days ago on September 3rd, our last dreary Saturday, I woke up just after midnight to a faint knocking on my poor wooden front door, and I begrudgingly stalked to the window to peek out from behind the curtains to see who could have possibly made their way up to my long-in-the-tooth cabin, and unsurprisingly, to you. And to my dismay, I found my only and older brother drowsily staring at my week-old door, waiting for me to come greet him. Not once in my entire life had I greeted anyone, let alone him, with a smile. I didn't say a word to him, and he didn't say a word to me. You live in isolation, hiding from your species long enough the primal instinct to live in silence will return and cradle your aching brain in its bosom. He sunk his frail body into my brown and green floral couch and stared out through my only uncovered window into the woods that had cared for me my entire life. William is a shallow man. William is the kind of shallow man that will stare out into my own expanse of pine trees, and his face won't even begin to soften. I stood by the door and observed him for a moment before I walked back down my dreadfully creaky hallway into my bedroom. I didn't sleep. I don't sleep when I have unfortunate strangers in my home. 10 hours later, I opened my door and walked back out into the kitchen for a glass of water, and William was sitting at the dining room table waiting for me. He wasn't waiting for me to talk or to come sit next to him. He was just waiting to see his baby brother walk out into the kitchen for water, and then 10 paces past him to the bathroom with the broken door to brush his long brown hair. My brother was infatuated with my hair. Our father cherished my hair. I did just as he expected me to, and I turned to face him after I had left the bathroom. We made eye contact for the first time in maybe a decade before I turned to look at the small dove that had landed outside my kitchen window. The dove hadn't come last time. I think that's how I knew what was coming. Nothing ever changes, but on that gloomy Sunday, something changed. I spent the day in my forest watching William slowly pace around my cabin from just behind one of my trees, but he never looked outside to see what I had been doing. He kept his head down and pretended to think just like he always did, but God knows he wasn't thinking he was waiting for me to come back inside and do what I've always done. I think my changes in routine during his visit could have been attributed to me subconsciously trying to warn him of what was to come, but I don't think that I even knew what I was going to do yet. Only my dove knew, and whoever sent the dove. I don't think William knew that the dove was mine too, just like the pine trees. I didn't come back inside the house until late morning on Tuesday. I don't think that I could bring myself to give William the satisfaction of watching me brush my hair. I stayed silent and still by my pine tree, watching him through the windows during those 2 days. He slept. I didn't. My dove sat a few branches above me, but she wasn't watching William or me. She was just watching. I stumbled back in through my wooden front door with my eyes burning into the floor to avoid William's curious glare, and I walked back down that creaky hallway to my own and only bedroom. I didn't lay on my bed. It was cold, and the comforter matched my couch. The same couch that my brother had slept on only hours before I made peace with my observations and guided my sorry vessel back inside. I rested my weary head on my old bedroom floor, and I slept for 4 hours, while William paced in the dining room. I woke up in the late afternoon to find my brother cradling his head in his hands at the dining room table. I poured myself a glass of water and walked slowly to the bathroom to brush my hair. William's eyes were open, but he didn't make any effort to track my movements. He just sat there and stared at the same spot on my table while I drew the curtains and sauntered back to my bedroom. I closed the door. In my nightstand, I keep the .357 Magnum revolver that my father gave to me on my 18th birthday. I remember leering into his tired eyes as he handed the force multiplier to me, but he didn't stare back. He just looked down and studied the weapon as I carefully rested it in the palm of my left hand and closed my weary fingers around the handle. For the first time in over a decade, I held the gun with shaking hands and gently closed my eyes as I heard my dove cooing outside the window. I stood there for hours toying with the weapon and listening to my dove sing to me. She had such a beautiful and gentle voice. I hadn't even noticed my brother's footsteps approaching my door. I tucked the revolver in my coat pocket and slowly opened the door to see William standing there swaying gently with his hand pressed firmly against the wall for stability as tears started to form in his eyes. This was more emotion than I had ever seen on his face before, and it deeply disturbed me. I wrapped my cold hand around his forearm and led him to the foot of my bed so he could sit down. He stared off down the hallway longingly, and I didn't dare ask him what had happened. I just slowly sat down next to his defeated frame and let him braid my long brown hair for what felt like an eternity. I eventually heard my dove's sweet cooing from outside the window and rose from the bed. I tightly grasped William's hand and trudged through my house into and through my forest under the moonlight until we reached a falling rock hill. I let go of his hand and grabbed his fragile wrist. He wrapped his hand around mine, and we wandered up the hill until we finally reached the top. I let go of my brother's arm. He led his vessel a few feet in front of me, and I stood behind him until we saw the first signs of our sun rising in the east. He longingly stared out at the horizon as I drew my revolver from my coat pocket, and I shot my brother William 5 times in the back. Have mercy, dear brother," he cried. "But the wind has no mercy, and neither do I." My whole life I have had to suffer from insomnia, ever since I was a child. It's been a nightmare. Talking about nightmares, if I somehow manage to fall asleep, I get plagued by insufferable dreams which wake me up quickly from my rather short slumber that barely lasts only 2 hours if I'm lucky. Those rather horrific dreams could be because before I go to bed, I tend to listen to horror podcasts. My thanks go to them since they're the only thing that has prevented me from dying due to sleep deprivation. Now I know what you're thinking. Well, why don't you just listen to some other genre of podcasts? I just can't. Well, maybe not can't, so to say, but horror is the only fiction that brings joy to my soul. Listening to the podcasters describe how the main protagonist feels when he's faced with terror and impossible obstacles brings me comfort. I know you may think I'm some sort of sadistic psychopath for saying that, but there is probably a normal explanation for why that is. If only I could enjoy feeling dread myself, my bad dreams would be a breeze. In fact, they would be like a highly realistic virtual reality. Wouldn't that be just great? To enjoy feeling like you're the one that's in a horror movie this time? You know, it's not fair. Why did the universe have to curse me with this inability to sleep? Why me? What did I do wrong? I know some people have it way worse than just some sleeplessness, but still, I'm always tired. Always. I don't remember the last time I enjoyed something without feeling as if I'm about to pass out any minute. Worst of all, I can't even do that. I wish I could fall asleep and just rest well for once, but I can't. I have been prescribed tons of different drugs for my problem, none of which have helped much. I still wake up at least 10 times during the night and I was sick of it. Worst of all, the doctors don't know where my sleeping problems come from in the first place. I have talked to a psychiatrist, my GP doctor, and even a neurologist. I tried herbal medicine and still nothing. I'm so tired, both literally and metaphorically. I needed something stronger, something that was out of the borders of the FDA's approval, something which you couldn't get from your local drugstore. Do you remember how I mentioned that I like horror? Well, my interest in it, and the long nightly hours I have spent on my PC instead of sleeping, led me to delve into the shadows of the internet. Specifically, the dark corners of the unreachable for most people web, also known as the dark web. I'm sure you've heard about it. The parts of the net where illegal stuff happens, like selling drugs and whatnot. To be honest, I wish selling drugs was the only thing that went against the law, because I have seen some unspeakable things where no human should lay his eyes on. The things I witnessed there have tormented me for years now. Maybe my night terrors wouldn't be as horrific if it wasn't for the hidden internet, or if I knew what I saw wasn't real. If only I could turn back time. Anyway, I'm not going to delve deep into that, as I want to spare you my trauma. The reason I mentioned the dark web is that it's from there that I brought SLTD, which stands for Sleeping Like the Dead. I stumbled upon an ad that said, "Are you having trouble falling asleep? SLTH can help you with that. Made by using only natural substances that are sure to make you sleep as a baby." Or like the dead. Well, to be honest, if I was making medications, I wouldn't really put the word dead anywhere, even if it was used figuratively. I know you shouldn't even think about touching the dark web, talking from experience, let alone ordering something from it, especially medication. But I was desperate for a cure, or at least some sort of treatment. The website itself said, "Fix your sleeping disorder, kill your sleeping problems." And while $199 might seem quite a lot for only 10 pills, for me, even with the financial crisis I was in, it wasn't. It felt like ages until the tablets came. I've never been this impatient for an order, like ever. I was excited to maybe finally have a good night's rest in decades. The rush I felt when I saw the postman deliver my package at around 9 a.m. made me run to my mailbox like a bullet. When I opened the package it came in, I saw the white box with purple letters on it. I was used to being disappointed by other drugs, but I knew these were going to be different. I can only hope I didn't just waste $199 on some Mentos. Butterflies flew in my stomach, as I couldn't wait for the sun to set so I could go to bed. Finally, I decided to sleep earlier tonight. No surfing the hidden internet or listening to horror podcasts tonight. When I opened the package to take my first dose, I decided to read the package insert. Warning: the following instructions must be read carefully. Failure to comply with the rules below can and will result in severe consequences, including but not limited to disturbing hallucinations, sleep paralysis, or even permanent insomnia similar to fatal familial insomnia, FFI. Upon consuming SLTD, you must maintain complete silence for at least 30 minutes. Any noise sound during the first 30 minutes upon consumption can and will result in severe and unpredictable side effects. SLTD must only be taken in a room with almost, if not, complete darkness. Ensure all light sources, such as electronic devices, are turned off. The absence of light is crucial for the pills to take the desired effect. Failure to do so will result in prolonged and vivid nightmares and hallucinations. SLTD is only effective at exactly midnight. Consumption of SLTD outside the designed time can and will lead to erratic behavior and/or inability to wake up ever again. Prior to taking SLTD, prepare a container that has exactly 100 milliliters of water. Place the pill under your tongue and wait for 10 seconds. Then swallow the pill with a single gulp of the entire 100 milliliters of water. Do not chew or crush the pill, as it will cause unpredictable side effects. Do not have any mirrors in the room you will be sleeping in after taking SLTD, as it will cause horrific hallucinations. SLTD is designed to be taken only once in a 24-hour period. Taking more than the recommended dose can and will lead to severe disorientation, hallucinations, loss of memory, and/or prolonged sleep deprivation. Do not take SLTD with any other medications, especially sleep aids. Remember, SLTD is an experimental product. It is essential to exercise caution upon consumption and adhere to the instructions provided. If you experience any abnormal symptoms or side effects, discontinue use immediately and seek professional help. We will not take any responsibility for any consequences upon SLTD consumption. You have been warned. Well, that was creepy. I know that these are from the dark web, but this was extremely sketchy. All these side effects and whatnot. And plus, I'm no chemist or a pharmacist, but nowhere does it say what these tablets contain. But then again, it's not like they're FDA approved. I wouldn't break any of the rules if I took one now anyway. I just have to wait until it's exactly midnight. There's no way I'd lose the sleep I desperately waited for years now over a few minutes. The minute hand of the clock hit 12, and I knew it was time to take my newly found experimental definitely safe meds, so I practically flew like a frigate bird to my room, which was now filled with pure darkness. I placed the bonbon, that's what I sometimes like to call my panacea, under my tongue, counted to 10, and swallowed it with the water, and then carefully, as to not make any noise, I placed the glass on the soft black carpet in my room, which was now practically invisible from the darkness. I followed the instructions word for word, as I didn't want to risk anything. I lay on my bed there, waiting to fall asleep, waiting for those 30 minutes to pass, waiting for my wish to come true. I was so excited to fall asleep, which was probably going to make it even more difficult to, fall asleep. I started counting sleep like the little child I was, and 30 minutes were gone just like that. I'm really good at approximating precisely how much time passes. And nothing. I thought I would have fallen asleep by now, with nothing but void and quiet all